You're listening to the Dragon Between podcast, a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign set in the Eberron pulp fantasy setting created by Keith Baker. New episodes are recorded every Sunday and released on the following week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for clips and future episodes. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for updates and news on the podcast. And now on with the show! When the characters last met, the group had just settled in for an evening's rest. After meeting a member of House Cannith and a potential new friend to this motley crew, the group settled into the rooms in the upstairs section of the tap room above Sharn's welcome. As the dawn brought on the new day, the characters each began to assemble down in the tap room, one at a time, finding themselves at a moment of respite, getting to know one another a little bit more, and discovering that their sorcerer friend Scorched had a pet that they did not know of previously. A little marsupial called Ration. As the group continued to settle in and discover the culinary talents of their sorcerer friend, they eventually decided to set off and see to gathering some supplies before returning to the house of Lady Eladrin de Cannith. After a near calamitous situation involving the lift suddenly failing and dropping them to the cobblestone streets of Trollskull Alley, the group were saved by a levitation spell from their friend, Scorched. The group continued on and then made several trips to various stores within the area, collecting a few supplies that they felt they would need for their trip to Zendrick, the Dark Continent. The characters then returned to the towers and found themselves in front of the townhouse of Lady Eladrin, observing that various workers were milling in and out of the property, attempting to reassemble and fix this townhouse from the damage that had been caused by the row the previous evening. The group then received traveling documents and received a little bit of the promised funds, half up front, half upon returning the schemas and the creation pattern back to Lady Eladrin. The group also received a special credit from House Cannith, one that could be used in an emergency, if need be. The characters were then directed to their transportation down within the dockside ward of Greyflood, and were directed to a Captain Biam, a gnomish captain who had a small crew running out of a ship that was described to the group as one of the first of its kind, a hybrid airship that traveled underwater and had some limited flight capability. The group hurried down to the dockside ward and poked around a bit before discovering that Captain Biam was playing a game of chance with the members of his crew. After observing the captain win the game of chance, the group then explained and introduced themselves as being the emissaries from House Cannith. BM greeted them and then led them off to a warehouse, tucked away, not too far, that was closed off to the public. As the party began to enter into the warehouse, they discovered a strange sight of an elongated, thin, metallic device with a large elemental ring closer to what one would assume would be the front of the vessel. And a water elemental bound to this ring, this churning, whirling water. And Captain Biam then showed the group to their berths, revealing the somewhat cramped interior of the vessel. As the characters watched on as the members of the crew began loading a few supplies onto the ship and began to head into this strange device, which was referred to as the Sea Serpent. The group began to explore a bit further and choose which rooms that they would take, just as Captain Biam began to rally his crew and make final preparations to set off.
I'm not too sure about this. I'm more of an air kind of man. Going underwater may unsettle.
As you all begin to head into the somewhat cramped confines of this vessel, you just watch as a couple of gnomes are scurrying through various different rooms that arc off into the left and the right, heading down this 10-foot wide corridor, heading forward. And you can see further down towards what appears to be the observation area of the bridge of this strange underwater vessel.
It'll be fine, Alistair. I don't think anything's going to happen to us, and if so, I mean, you can swim, can't you?
If I can swim or not, I prefer the wide open air.
Yeah. Well, you fly there, and we'll do this, and we'll see who gets there first.
I'm okay. I just don't like it.
I don't like the color orange, but I'm not complaining.
You just did.
Adelim sort of scurries past her companions and immediately ducks into the first room. And as she passes by Scorched Twinkle, you notice that she's looking a little ill. And she ducks into the very first room and closes the door behind her.
I sure hope she's okay.
Maybe she's water sick.
You might be right. There's just something about that thin skin and lack of scales or armor, really, that just makes her seem so frail. I just hope she's okay.
At the end of the corridor leading into the bridge, this observation level, the corridor immediately ends at a little ladder that drops down a little bit into this area. And Varax, as you head into this section, you can see that there are several screens that are arrayed before what you would assume to be the captain's chair. There's a couple other chairs within this area of the vessel that are just to the right and to the left of what you would assume to be the captain's chair. And you can see several observation ballistas, these transparent bubbles that are arrayed around you. And you can see that as Captain Biam is controlling and touching this crystal screen in front of him on the controls, which resemble that of an atlas slate, that sort of like a green, milky green colored glass. You can see him touching little runes that seem to be written in some sort of language. And as he does, as soon as he touches something, he looks up to one of the bubbles. You can see now that the bubble, the image, immediately to the left, or excuse me, to the right of where he's sitting, is now shifting to that of an image that is projected of the rear of the vessel. And you can see now, and you can also audibly hear the sound of the last few crates which are being loaded onto the conveyor belt, which is loading into this sort of an airlock, this opening at the rear of the vessel. And Captain Biam presses a little toggle switch on his console, and you can hear his voice now, which is echoing throughout the entire chamber.
All right, that is the last of our cargo that we intended to take today. Of course, with the extra passengers, we didn't get a chance to take on as much as we wanted to, but that's okay. House Kenneth is paying the bills, and they want us to take these lovely folk straight to Zendrick right away. If you are all ready, we'll seal the capsule, and we will get ready to head off.
You are quite attractive.
And Captain BM turns around and winks at you and says, "Thank you. I don't think that I've ever had a lizard man such as your, a man such as your stature say that to me. I appreciate that." You can tell that he's sort of blushing now from your comment.
I tip my hat at him.
Oh, that's right. You have that top hat.
Oh, yeah. Tell me, sir, is there a good place for me to sit and smoke my pipe?
Biam turns around and he says, "Well, I would appreciate if you did so in the lavatory. I wouldn't do it anywhere else on the ship for the simple fact that we're going to be pressurizing and sealing this vessel, and I don't think everyone on the ship wants to get sick from secondhand smoke."
I'll definitely spin my little pipe around in a fashion that looks far more impressive than it really is, and say, "No matter, I can wait," and tuck it, because I am a gentleman, and I never impose on anyone.
Well,
What's impose mean?
You know, I think it might be beyond you.
It is not behind me. I checked.
I'm a pat twinkle on her head and go about my merry way.
Alistair is gonna stick his head out and look down at Twinkle, and then just turn his head 180 degrees and looks over towards Scorched and Brax. Well, is anyone going to bunk with me, or am I by myself? I'm fine with both.
I'll be happy to if you don't mind snuggling.
You may wake up with me claw marks and elbow marks.
So might you.
Or lice.
I might get lice from him, you're right.
How dare you insult my magnificent feathers?
No, it's okay. I have lice too. Maybe ticks.
So, Scorched. What do you think of this contraption?
I have seen many contraptions like this, but none that can go under the water, since I'm used to staying in confined spaces like this.
It's terribly interesting. I can't wait to see it in action. Well, do we have quarters we might be staying in during this trip?
There's a bit of a cool air now that flows out from a vent near you, Vrax. And you hear a ratcheting clank and a pneumatic hiss, and all of you, your ears sort of pressurize a little bit. And Captain Biam says, "This might be a little bit jarring to those that have traveled under the water before. I do apologize in advance that I haven't given you a proper safety explanations of where we will be going. If you would all meet me," and he now presses the toggle switch and says,
If I could have all passengers, please head up to the observation blister at the front of the vessel. That would be lovely.
Alistair is used to high altitude, so his ears popping don't bother him.
I'm confused. I'm just looking at everybody else. Should we go to the thing?
I'm sorry, Brooks. How are you talking to everyone? You're all the way down over there by him already.
Am I?
You've been standing next to
Yes,
Derek the
you
whole
are.
time, sir.
Oh. Well, it's about time y'all caught up to me. I've been yelling to you very loudly. I'm very big.
Adelum stumbles out, a bit paler than usual, and heads up to the front of the blister to listen in. And Captain Viam turns around and says, "Great, lovely that you're all here. So, welcome aboard the Sea Serpent. This is my vessel, which has been contracted by House Kenneth to take you lovely folk to Stormreach of all places within Zendrick. Normally a vessel, traveling of that sort, takes about 5 days. However, I have been instructed and paid to take you there as soon as possible. We will be cutting through Shargon's Teeth, which is an archipelago. It's a series of islands that separates within the Thunder Sea the continent of Zendrick from the continent of Corvair. And provided it all goes well, cutting through Shargon's Teeth should cut us down to approximately 3 days, possibly 3.5, depending on any possible issues that we run into. But we should be okay. Going under the surface of the waves, we won't run into any vessels up top anywhere. Now, the Sea Serpent itself is not necessarily an experimental vessel, but is a vessel that is not widely used as of yet. So therefore, its existence is somewhat private, and House Kenneth would prefer to keep it that way. So when we do arrive within Stormreach, I will be dropping anchor, if you will, off of the shore away from the city, and you'll have to head into the city on your own accord. We will stay in that position, half a mile away from the city, for approximately 30 days, after which, if you have not returned from your expedition, unfortunately, we will have to leave you. Did you have any questions at all before we head out?
You have plenty of meat. Correct.
And we have a fully stocked kitchen. We have plenty of meat. We have plenty of greens for the next 3.5 days. You should have plenty for you and for the crew to eat. The crew will be confined to the aft section rooms, the steerage. There are a couple of bunk beds within each room that can accommodate various individuals. Normally, we are not a vessel that takes upon ourselves a travelers, if you will. Normally, we just perform cargo shipping and delivering a few items. So you would be actually the first passengers that the Sea Serpent has ever taken on.
I see. That is interesting.
And if you have any questions at all, I can direct you. If I'm on the bridge for most of the journey, I will be up here on the bridge. But I direct your questions to my crew over here to my left, and he is now spun around in his chair, and he is gesturing to a gnome who is sitting very carefully going through what looks like some sort of a ledger, like a hardbound ledger, and he's going through it and he's writing with a quill in it. And he looks up and he says, yes, Captain. This is Derek. Derek is in charge of the manifest. He's also my first mate. And he then gestures over to the gentleman sitting over to his right. This is John. John and his 3 brothers. They've been with me for quite some time now. His brothers are Ringo, George, and of course Paul. And then finally we have our recent acquisition. I'm not sure where he is right now, but he's somewhere on the ship. Tyler. Tyler is a goblin. He is missing a leg, apparently from some sort of accident on a previous ship that he served on. But he's a recent acquisition as well. Again, if you have any questions at all, you can direct your questions to any of them, and they will happily attempt to assist you in any way. And the captain looks to each of you and begins sort of scanning each of your faces, expectantly looking to see if any of you have any current further questions.
Alistair just to the side.
As long as I won't be flooded by water, I'm fine.
And he starts to walk back to the room.
Okay. And Adelum says, well, if it's all right, I will retire for a few hours. I'm not feeling too well.
Adlam, are you water sick?
Possibly something I ate. I'm not sure, but I'm going to take little Mur with me and to the back, and I'm just gonna go through my books, my notes that I received from Lady E. If you need me, you know where to find me. And she then, not a hurried pace, but at a quickened pace, begins to stumble down the hallway towards the rear of the ship and back into the room that she was in previously.
Alistair takes off his cloth boots. So now, if there's any metal or anything, when he walks on me, you'll hear a little tink, 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 tink of his little claws happen.
Okay.
You can hear that on mine anyway, because my toes stick out of my shoes whenever I actually wear them.
Scorched, I'm going to take Twinkle to this room over here with me. I'd like to keep an eye on her. And on top of that, I don't think my new future wife would appreciate me sharing a room with anybody else, especially Adeline.
And with that, Vrax heads off into one of the chambers, taking the little goblin rogue with him. Scorched, you are now within the observation blister with the captain and his first mate and one of the other gnomes, and you can watch now as you feel all of you within, you feel a very slight bob as the ship begins to descend. And then a bit of a feeling in your pit of your stomach of acceleration as the ship begins to move into the harbor through a tunnel that seems to move from the moon pool within the warehouse out into the hilt, into the harbor, and very quickly begins to navigate through the murky water. Midday sun streaming through the water, and you can just see the various formations of coral and a few bits of debris and schools of fish that seem to fly beyond it. And beyond the observation blister, you can see now in the distance, you can see the bottoms of vessels, of seafaring vessels, which are moving through the harbor in and away. And Captain Biam switches the toggle switch again. He looks back to you and he says, you might want to hold on to something. This part might jolt you a little bit.
All right. I'm going to activate the elemental binding ring now. There will be a little bit of a jolt as we accelerate.
And suddenly there is this another exhilarating feeling of a movement. Like you can just feel in your legs a little bit, this bit of a hum and a vibration that seems to be emanating somewhere close by from the exterior of the hull. And suddenly the observation blister immediately to in front of you, Scorched, you can see the image is now shifting from that of the immediate outside location of the blister to a rear view section on the top, what you assume is the top of the device. And you can see now this almost electric blue undulation, this whirlwind, if you will, underneath the water, which is now crackling with energy. And you can just see it looks like a twister underwater in a circular shape, and it just gets larger by about what you could assume is 30%, and suddenly the image in front of you in the blister shifts back to the outside, the exterior, and the sea life around you now is moving at a much higher rate of speed. Now, it's not that much more. It's only about you of course wouldn't know, but the speed is approximately 15 miles per hour, but it's gliding under the surface of the water.
Scorch just hangs on to the wall as he watches as all like the fish and coral go by. He's never seen, well, he's seen fish before, but he's never seen a live fish before. He's kind of fascinated by how they move.
I'm staring out the window trying to figure out why I can't bite any of them as we go past.
There's
I'm already
actually
asleep.
there are little observation windows within your rooms. Twinkle, as you look out the small little bubble on from the interior, you can see that it looks like it's a bit magnified from where you're looking, and you can see out. You can just see schools of fish that are zipping by.
And I scratch the window.
As you do, you scratch at this very, very thick crystal. It's not glass. It's a thick crystal. And your claws, as much as you scratch on it, don't appear to be making anything more than an annoying, like, scratching noise. But nothing on the glass, even around the edges of the metal, the metal frame around it, is scratching on it as much as you can. But it doesn't appear to be doing anything.
Alistair is also drooling as he looks out the window and just like, this, if only I had claws to grab them. Nevermore, I just hope.
And as you all continue to relax and just sort of take in your various activities within the ship, what would you all like to do for the rest of the day?
I'm sleeping.
You're going to go to sleep now. Right now it's approximately 1:30 in the afternoon. So you want to just hang out in your ship, or do you want to go to bed?
I'm actually like, kind of awake, kind of napping. This whole being underwater thing does not impress me as much as it does everybody else.
Okay.
I'm going to climb underneath of my bed and pout.
Okay.
After Alistair had his fill of looking out, he's just gonna lay in bed and kind of roost up, and by roost, he's going to take the blankets from both beds and put them over himself with only his face that's looking out through a hole, so it's kind of like almost like a cocoon that's replicating a tree, and he's just gonna like stand in the corner of one of the beds and
Okay. Well, what about you, Scorched? Are you just going to continue to hang out in the observation deck?
Scorch is just gonna hang out, just watching as the submarine goes through the water.
And several hours pass, and fairly uneventful. Within the blister, the two gnome assistants continue to assist Captain Biam as he very very carefully guides the craft through the water. You can see now eddies and a bit of bubbles that seem to form from somewhere underneath the observation blister windows, and they seem to just sort of slowly drift up to the top and then out of sight as you are gliding underneath the waves. You see as the light from overhead begins to start to dim as the hours now continue on throughout the day. Captain Biam now stands up and he says, "Well, I need to hit the head. Derek, you have the helm." And he now ascends the ladder, stepping past you, Squirts. He says, "Well, how are you having it? Like, enjoying your excuse me. How are you enjoying the ship so far?"
It is an interesting experience.
Indeed,
I've
I'm glad I spent the money on it.
So, is this how safe is this mode of transport?
Oh, about as safe as any other mode of transportation, I suppose. I mean, we're not invincible, of course, which is why someone is required to be in the observation deck at all times to maintain our course.
Is it all to worry about? It's just running into things that are too hard for this ship to go.
Well, making sure that we don't run into any sort of rock formation or coral reef or some sort of a creature underneath the sea that just happens to take an interest in us.
What sort of creatures are there?
Oh, you know, the usual whales, squid, sharks. Of course, the closer we get to Shargon's teeth, we may see a few dire sharks, which of course are much larger than your standard shark. You don't want to tussle with one of those, believe you me. And of course, as we go through Shargon's teeth, we might see a few Sahuagin. We definitely don't want to encounter them. Just why I'm going to take us through is not too quickly. Going to try to run as silent as we can as we head through that area.
What are these Spahugan?
Sahuagin is a native tribe, native species of underwater dwelling creatures. I guess you would call them a bipedal fish man or woman. But they are relatively... you don't really want to run into one of them. Especially without a good blade in your hand.
Well, I will not keep you any longer, Captain.
Oh, thank you. I really do have to go. And he quickly runs down and then ducks into the lavatory and shuts it behind him. And the rest of you, you're just relaxing for the rest of the day in your rooms?
I am.
Okay. Several hours pass, and at what time you're not entirely sure. Approximately 5 hours go by, and the crewmen now begin to bring you all trays of food. They took your orders beforehand, hearing from one of you, overhearing the conversation with the captain that the need for meat. And the little gnomes each bring you a little tray. One brings it to your room. Vrax knocks on the door. Excuse me.
Yes, I'm going to help you.
My name is Ringo. I'm here with your dinner for the evening.
I'm going to take the tray from him and look at it. What do I see up there?
You see a pile of what appears to be steamed potatoes and some sort of salted beef. And there's a big old honk of bread with like a really crispy crust on it.
I'm going to grab that big old piece of beef. I'm going to take a bite out of it, and I'm going to take the rest of it and toss it in the air, generally somewhere above Twinkle's head.
Okay.
Food!
Ringo
Thank
says,
you, sir.
"Well, that was your dinner," and he pulls a second tray out that's mostly meat and begins sliding into the room gingerly, and then backs out. If there's anything else, you know where to find me.
Watch your hands in the future when you do that. Thanks.
And Ringo then turns around and very deftly, sort of power speed walks away from your room.
Good day, sir. Thank you again for the food. It smells delicious.
Bye-bye!
And within the same amount of time, Alistair, you were also brought a tray of food which you ordered. And they asked you, of course, Scorched, if you wanted anything.
Scorch will take a tray of food and he'll feed it to Ration.
Alistair will break out of his cocoon of blankets and kind of like dash to the door, looking at it.
Thank you. The fish passing by has made me rather ravenous.
And he takes a piece of the meat and just like cranes his neck back and just drops it straight into his mouth without chewing and swallows, and then takes the tray.
I thank you for the food, my friend.
And the little gnome looks at you and says, just sort of like, kind of like, oh, I've never seen anything like you before. Oh, okay, thank you. And he backs away from your room and starts to head away.
Peculiar, you little thing. I like him.
And as you're all settling in and you're feasting on your dinner, do you do anything else?
What's the ceiling look like?
The ceiling within and the actual walls within your room have a padded texture to it. And at different intervals, there are these little, what it looks like buttons that seem to be fastening this soft material that almost like animal hide. And there's as you reach out and touch it with your hand sort of smushes in a little bit, like it's like a foam-like material underneath, and it's all over the ceilings and the walls.
What about in the hallway?
Within the hallway, the floors of your room underneath is sort of like a hard and somewhat cold to the touch material. It's not steel. It's not wood. It's not stone. It's some sort of strange material. It has a little bit of a texture to it, but it feels smooth and cold to the touch on your feet and on your hands if you feel it. And it almost has like a texture to it, so it feels like it grips your feet as you walk on it to make it easier to move on the surface within the chamber and within the hallway. And
I wish to take the pillowcase off of my pillow and wear it like a bag, and I shall slide up and down the hallway.
Okay. And as you do, Ringo has just finished taking his tray to Adelum at the rear section of the ship, and he is now currently standing within your path. Make a dexterity saving throw. Or no, I'll tell you what, make an acrobatics check. You slam into Ringo, and the tray goes flying, clang, 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 onto the ground. And the little Unum seems to be quite knocked out.
Whoops.
And you can hear from up the front of the ship, you can hear the captain saying, "What's all that clatter back there? What's going on?"
I'm hiding.
Okay. Would you like to roll a stealth check?
I would.
Okay. So Captain BM, now you can hear the clang, clang, pat, pat noise of his hands touching the rungs of the ladder leading up to the corridor. He now looks down, looks around, and he just sees the prone form of Ringo. It says, "Ringo, what the devil are you doing back there? Ringo!"
What's all this noise out here?
Vrax, you turn and you see to your left down the hall, towards the rear section of the capsule. You can see now that this gnome is currently splayed on his ass, his head back, like possibly hit it, and he is completely out cold. There is a tray that is laying just a few feet away from him, sort of cockeyed against the wall.
Is your friend all right? What happened?
That's what I'm trying to find out. What in the blazes is going on my ship? Rango! Paul, wake that fool up, will you? I
Very
swear.
concerned.
Has anyone seen Tyler? And almost as if being summoned into existence, a 2-foot-tall goblin with a pair of goggles on his head and a little bird on his shoulder comes walking up from like a lower section near the aft section, and he says, "Well, hello there, Captain. Oh, so sorry, I was working hard, you know me, always working." And now Tyler looks, "Oh, you're the folk that were setting off to the dark continent there. Oh, how are you doing?" And the little goblin now, with a bit of smudge, like this thick black substance all over his hands up to his elbows, and he comes up and he's just sort of rubbing like an oil rag, rubbing his hands together, and cleans as much of it off as he can, and he reaches up to shake your hand, Vrax.
I'll go ahead and shake his hand. Hey, it's good to see you again. How are you doing?
"Oh, hey, big fella." And you can see that he's sort of walking with like a limp. He has a bit of like a big rear end, and he's got one leg, and then where you would assume would be the other leg, he has like a big wooden peg that is festooned and fashioned to where his leg would be, and he's just sort of very, very carefully kathunk walking along this strange gripping surface of the interior of the corridor. And he reaches up, he shakes your hand, he says, "Well met, big fella. Nice to meet you. My name is Tyler."
It's a pleasure. I am Vrax.
"Vrax, good to meet you. If there's anything you need on your voyage, you don't hesitate to call on me. I'm usually in the back, or sometimes you can find me. I'll be in the corridors. The air system has to be constantly maintained, so you might hear the sound of me going through the air system from time to time. Don't worry about any scratching noises or echoing from the various sections of the rooms. That's just me probably scrabbling around trying to check for rats or other vermin that might have snuck on board."
Well, actually, we're trying to figure out what happened with poor Ringo here. Has anybody seen Twinkle? Twinkle, where are you?
Hey, that Twinkle was in the bedroom with you.
Twinkle. I would go put my head back in the bedroom. Twinkle, what are you doing?
I'm not Twinkle. I'm the wind.
Well, Twinkle's in there pretending to be the wind right now, playing a game. But yeah, she's back in.
And at this point, Ringo is now finally coming to, and he's just like rubbing his head, and he's like, "Oh, what happened? Oh, anybody catch the number of whatever that was that hit me? Oh, blazes! I think I need to lie down for a while." And his brother, now supporting him, holding him up, Paul now grabs Ringo and says, "Come on now, brother, put you to bed." And he takes Ringo and moves him into the far chamber across from the one that Adelum was staying in. Adelum at this point has now creaked the door open and is poking her head out just to kind of see what's going on. And seeing that it doesn't appear to be any danger or anything else, she just sort of says, "I'm going to go ahead and go to bed for the evening. I will see you all in the morning."
Okay.
And she very, very politely smiles at you all and then closes the door behind her. And before she goes, you can just see Myrrh is sort of poking his head out from the side of her head on her shoulder and is looking at you, Varax, and its eyes are sort of, the pupils are dilating and focusing and dilating over and over again. It sort of bobs its head in a U fashion and sort of gives out a tiny little hoot.
I'm going to look across the hallway to Scorched and Alistair and comment that Adelum seems to be acting odd. She's rather nice to me.
Alistair just stares at everyone from his doorway, saying nothing. The lights are off in his room, so it's just darkness with his face.
Maybe she's finally coming around.
Maybe so.
You all watch it now as Tyler sort of says, "Hey, is any grub left?" And the captain says, "Help yourself, Tyler. It's good to see you finally decided to join us." And he then turns around and begins heading back to the forward observation blister. And he now says to you all, through the sound of his voice echoing throughout the vessel,
All right. We're going to be running silent now for a while, so I'm going to be turning as we pass off into the evening hours. Nighttime is typically when the nocturnal creatures within the ocean will attempt to look for something to eat. So we will be running silent, which means that all lights will be off. That way they won't be projecting from your interior cabin portholes. If you have any questions at all, as we are going into a silent running mode into the morning, upon the morning we will have a brief moment where we will make for the surface of the water to get a general idea of the weather, what that's looking like, and then we will continue on our journey to Shargon's Teeth.
Twinkle. We're playing the quiet game. Go let in.
Okay.
I'm going to beat you this time.
and as you all settle in for the evening, I will go ahead and mark you all as taking a long rest.
The longest of long rest.
And you all have a lovely, just an absolutely lovely rest. It's the most comfortable sleep you've all had in a while. It feels nice for a change to have a place to just sort of to relax and to not have to worry about being attacked by anything or have to worry about where you're gonna hang your hat or lay or have a sleep for the evening,
Or if you're going to wake up and be robbed.
or eat a cat. So, as I said before, you all have a really nice, lovely, restful sleep. You all wake up. The air within this place seems to be generated, so it's constantly fresh air is constantly wafting over all of you. Doesn't get stale. You get the occasional smells of coming from the lavatory down the hallway, which almost immediately seem to be cleansed or scrubbed, if you will. So it's kind of nice. There's sort of like a little bit of smell of like fresh cut flowers now. It's sort of flowing throughout the chambers within the vessel. And you are all suddenly hear the sound as you all begin to go about your morning rituals, as you're all slowly waking up. You all hear a sound coming from the little grills, these little strange little apertures on the inside of your chambers. The sound emanates now of the captain.
All right, good morning, my friends. We have just arrived in the outskirts of Shargon's Teeth. We will be surfacing to get a feel for the weather, and as we do, we will, if you all would like to step out onto the deck, you can.
And there is a feeling of a buoyancy, sort of a bounce to your bodies and your forms as you can feel the ship now rising up. And there's a little bit of pressure within your heads that immediately begins to equalize as you ascend slowly to the surface of the water. And from within the corridors now, you can hear the sounds of feet moving as the various gnome crewmen are moving about the interior hallway that separates the rooms.
I scurry out from underneath of my bed and into the hallway, looking towards the food.
Okay. And you can see now, as you poke your head out, you can see Ringo, who, upon seeing you, his eyes go a little bit wide, and he immediately ducks into the kitchen.
I smile really big and wave.
And the rear hatch of the vessel now pops open, and there's a bit of a rush, early morning humidity that kind of like sort of wraps around your bodies as if you decide to make your way towards the rear of the vessel out onto the exterior of the ship. And you can hear the sounds of the varying creatures, the sounds of splashing as these various sea life have gathered around the vessel and have sort of bouncing on the waves around you. As you look around, you can see now it looks like a little bit of flying fish that are jumping up out of the water.
But can I snatch one?
Sure, if you'd like to go onto the ocean.
It's about time Twinkle takes a bath.
I think we.
Do I see any birds?
Off in the distance, you can hear just the sounds of just the waves crashing and very, very faint sounds of seagulls as you look forward over from the front of the vessel beyond the churning rings. You can just see off in the distance the dots of these many islands that stretch out. These tiny black shapes off in the distance are almost imperceptible, but you can just hear the sounds of birds in the distance. They're far too far away for you, though, unfortunately.
Nah.
But you can hear very faintly the sounds echoing on the wind. And one of the goblins now, or the goblin now, has sort of wandered out onto the deck. He says, "It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? The sight of the Shargon's teeth." And as he says that, he says, not really my business, but I don't think that visibility is going to be too good here shortly. And as he says that, As the sun is rising in the distance, you can see now that there is a gathering of storm clouds off to the southwest, and they seem to be like situated off in the distance beyond Shargon's teeth. But the goblin Tyler is now pulling out a little spyglass, and he's looking off into the distance, and he looks back to each of you and he says, "Well, there you have it. Oh, we're definitely not going to be flying over Shargon's teeth." And as he says that, he heads back into the vessel, and you can hear his voice echoing down. "Hey, Captain, you might want to come out here and take a look." And now from within, scurrying very quickly down the 10-foot wide hallway out onto the rear observation section of the ship, you see Captain Biam in his gnomish form. He is sweating profusely, and just from that bit of humidity that makes his clothes stick to him as he heads outside, he says, "Oh, jeez. Will this summer never end? What are you talking about, Tyler? Hand me that damn spyglass." And he snatches it out of the goblin's hand, and he now looks towards the southwest with the spyglass. He says, "Oh, blast. I was hoping that we could attempt to fly over Shargon's teeth, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen."
Whose teeth are we looking at?
That would be this off in the distance. And he takes the spyglass now, and he puts it over one of your eyes and covers the other eye. He says, "Do you see all those islands?" And he points in the distance on the horizon. As he guides the spyglass, you can see now that there are various islands of differing sizes off in the distance that are separated by the water by quite a bit, but they sort of dot the landscape. They fill up the landscape from the southwest. "That's what I'm talking about, dear. Shargon's teeth. It's a stretch of islands that are typically most folk avoid because of the Sahugan tribes."
So it's not teeth? Then why do you call it teeth?
"I don't know. In fact, from what I understand, Shargon was a creature of some sort, so I assume it's referring to its many teeth. The way the islands stick up out of the water."
Ah. But they're not his teeth.
Nope. Definitely not. Definitely islands. Well,
That's weird.
no, you'd all like to stretch your legs, but we're gonna go ahead and make our way on. If you all head back into the capsule, we'll be closing it up shortly.
And I crawl back inside.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
Scorched will go back inside and he will just aimlessly explore all the rooms in the submarine.
Okay.
Alistair's just gonna stay in the bed looking out.
All right. After a while, the rear hatch of the ship begins to close, and the interior of the cabin now seals once again. And
I go towards the window and climb on top of it and look right into it to watch it go down.
Okay. As you do, you watch as slowly the surface of the ocean water now begins to rise up, and you can see the eddies and bubbles and the way that the light changes as this blue-green water begins to rise up and cover and envelop the porthole as the ship begins to descend down. And the captain now calls out on the overhead once again and saying,
If any of you would like to see what Shargon's teeth looks like before we head into, you can come up to the observation deck.
and as the ship begins to glide under the waves once again towards the scattering off in the distance of the islands, which are still far too far away for you to really see anything. But as the ship begins to move forward and accelerate from the elemental ring, you can see that there are phosphorescent colors of different hues and you can just see thousands of glowing fish in schools, some alone that are just sort of darting and flitting through the darkness within the water. And you can see columns of stone which seem to be almost as if they're painted with like a bioluminescent greens and yellows that seem to punch up from the darkness below the ship and extend up towards the surface of the water. And they so slowly narrow from the base of where they begin and the bottom of the ocean. They narrow as they get closer towards the surface of the water. Some of the columns only appear to be tens of feet across, but many of them that you can see further away in the distance underwater could be even broader than that. And the captain says, "The teeth, as I was referring to, seen from a different perspective. Beautiful, don't you think?"
So what are these islands?
Well, I wouldn't even call them, not all of them are really islands, or more islets, just rock formations breaking the surface of the water. Many of the smaller ones don't even support life beyond a crustacean or two, but a few of the larger ones, you have some areas that have some form of life, some sort of primitive life, I'm sure. Of course, the Sahugan, they live within these waters, so we'll be as careful as we possibly can be going through this area.
What's a Sugin?
A Sahuagin, little one, is a creature that lives under the water most of the time. It's sort of like a fish man. They have a bit of a nasty temper. But Captain Biam has yet to face a Sahuagin that he couldn't escape from. And
Are they fish?
let's see. Scorched and Twinkle, make a perception check. Okay. And Captain BM continues. He says, "The Sahuagin, they are strange folk. They have a tendency to eat softer folk, if you will. So I try to actively avoid them as much as possible."
So if they eat things that walk, they won't be mad if I eat them.
I can't speak to how they taste, but they're very predatory. They come from the black
Predatory.
Predatory, yes. They come from the black depths of the ocean, and they hunt creatures in the shallows and on the shore. Most of the time, they tend to dwell in the deepest trenches of the ocean. But they see this entire area, and realistically, all of the seas, they see as their realm, their kingdom. And they see creatures like ourselves as blood sport for their hunting parties.
Cool. That's it, Scorch. I'ma eat one.
Well, if you think you can handle one.
Well, I figure if you stab it really good, it
And-
can't swim away.
As you're gliding under the waves, and off in the distance you can see the bioluminescent teeth, if you will, of these pillars that rise up in the distance. You are all suddenly violently tossed. I need everyone to make a dexterity check.
Dexterity check or dexterity save?
Dexterity check.
Does this dexterity effect originate within 30 feet of me?
Well, you're being tossed violently from the inside of your cabin.
I'm going to say that is a yes.
Okay. Let's see. You all take 5 bludgeoning damage as you are violently rocked. As the sea serpent is rocked violently as if something large and powerful has crashed into it, or perhaps the vessel has hit one of those columns that rise up like rocky trees in the dark. From somewhere you can hear the sound of dripping water as the gnome crew is starting to curse and shout, "Oh God! Oh the gods! Oh, what was that?" And there's just a blur of movement as the various gnomes are running through the chambers, and the light within the blister now, there's a little bit of an ever bright lantern that is sort of blinking a red. And that this red light now extends throughout the entire ship now, and you can hear the sound of the captain now from the overhead. And you can first you hear the different gnomes that are running around and running up and down the halls and say, "Captain! Captain!" And Paul runs into the observation deck, and you can hear him saying now, "Captain, the binding ring has been damaged." And Captain Biam says, "Blast it all! Get us to the surface before the elemental gets free and we're stuck in these cursed waters. Rise! Rise!" And as the ship is now beginning to rise up, he's looking around, and Captain BM is now touching various dials on the ship, and he's adjusting and looking through the observation blisters all within the observation, and he's showing various angles. You can now see the bioluminescent columns from around you, and he now shows an image of the binding ring, and you can see now that near the one side of the binding ring appears to be damaged, and the twister of a circle, this elemental spiral, seems to be wildly sort of snaking before making contact between one elemental point into the next. Instead of a smooth arc, it's sort of like an undulating snake now. And he turns and he looks to the rest of you and he says, "Once we reach the surface, the crew and I need to examine the damage and make repairs. It shouldn't delay us more than a couple of hours, hopefully." And as the ship continues to rise towards the surface, there's suddenly a bit of a bobbing sensation. And you can feel now the ship appears to halt. And as you're looking through the observation domes, you can see now that there appears to be some sort of lattice work image that is superimposed. This black crisscross pattern which is over the observation blisters in various angles and places. And Biamus is now yelling, "Blast it all, what is going on?" And he now looks and shifts the image of the observation blister, and now you can see that it appears to be some sort of netting, which is now stretched out over sections of the ship and is covering and holding down. And this netting appears to be fashioned off in the distance, possibly to these columns off in the distance. And it's almost as if the ship itself has risen up into a netting, like a spider web like netting.
We've been cut!
"All right, crew. We're going to have to take a swim to cut the ships free." And he turns to you, Scorched, and to you, and to anyone else who is possibly within sight of him on the observation deck. He says, "Any help you can provide would be much appreciated."
I can help. Or you like
I
me to?
don't like the water, but I like you. So I will attack the water.
And the captain now directs you all towards down the 10-foot wide hallway, he directs you to the two smaller, these two doors that are directly across from each other. And he says, these are the the only way to get out of the ship. This is a pressurized cabin on either side. There's one per side of the ship. The crew will have to go out and attempt to cut the ship free from the nets. If any of you would like to volunteer to help them on this, that would be wonderful. We can get this done faster if we possibly can. I don't know. I can't say if this net is an active thing, if something is waiting for us, or if this was just sprung on us. I can't say for sure. But
I'll help.
I can give you some things. And he now, pressing a panel on the side of one of these little pressurized areas, he now points to a rack on the inside, and you can see now that there are these strange crossbows. They're much longer, sort of an elongated crossbow, almost like a rifle. Well, or I should say, like this, the length of like a rifle, if you will, but it's a crossbow. And he says these are specially designed to work underwater. They fire a device called a harpoon. It's like a crossbow bolt, but much longer, and it can arc through the water without being hindered by the water. And here, this might come in handy. I don't assume that any of you can breathe onto water.
Warforged don't breathe at all.
Well, then you'll come in quite handy. And he says, if you want one, you can have one. And he takes the crossbow and now throws it towards you. And for the rest of you, and he now gestures to a little box that's on the floor just below the crossbows. You can have one of these. And he pulls up this little cap that's sort of a semi-transparent material. He says, if you put this on, you can breathe underwater. This will keep you from drowning.
Cool.
I just realized I need to give damage to everyone. Yay! There we go. Okay. So who's going outside with the crew?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Scorched is.
All right. I'm going to throw the... I'm sorry, what was that, Alistair?
Alistair will also regard a fleet.
Okay. I'm going to throw the armory into the party sheet inventory. And within you'll find the crossbow, the water crossbows, the harpoon bolts, the caps of water breathing, and of course the cases to hold the bolts. So if you wish to have one of those, there are 8 sets of harpoons and there are 12 sets of water breathing caps. And you can now hear this sort of persistent dripping coming, this sort of echoing throughout the chambers now, within and down the hallway. And you can just hear now the sound of Tyler's rough voice as he yells out, Captain, we are taking on an awful lot of water. Blast it all, Tyler. I know we hit something. I don't know what we hit. And suddenly there is another sort of bobbing sensation, and you all feel like you're about to be knocked on your ass once again. We better get out there as quickly as we possibly can.
Scorch will go and put Ration in one of the rooms so he won't drown.
Okay. And one by one you all cycle into the water, and you can see off as you look out there. It's very hard to see much from where the ship is currently. You can see the bioluminescent towers off in the distance, and you can just make out like schools of fish which are swimming off the sides of their sort of twinkling off in the distance from the sunlight which is streaming down several hundred feet from the surface of the water. And looking up, you can see the early morning sky which is illuminating the surface of the water. And who's all in the water again?
Me.
Okay, so Vrax is in the water.
Me too.
Twinkle's in the water.
Alistair is.
And Scorched.
Okay, so you're all in the water. I will say that for all intents and purposes, Adelum went with you. So she is also swimming out in the water with you.
Glub, glub. I'm a fish.
Glub, glub. Okay. So out in the darkness, you can see now that as the crew members are swimming to the surface of the ship, and suddenly one of them points out, and he begins throwing out these little globes. And as he does, they arc out from his throw just a little bit, and then suddenly zoom out and illuminate 30 feet bright light around the ship, illuminating sections of the ship, and they all begin to set off to cutting the net. And you can see now that they're very quickly moving from section to section, attempting to cut the net. And you are all just sort of sitting there, just in the outskirts of the darkness beyond the glow. And as you look out off into the distance now, you can now see a dark shape which is gliding just within the dim light of these strange elemental globes. You can see a very large shark which is now sort of moving slowly, undulating side to side, and suddenly, as if reacting to just the sight of you all in the darkness, suddenly begins to swim faster directly towards you. I need you all to roll initiative. And I will share a map with you guys. I suppose I should roll for your healer as well.
Yep.
Okay. Lovely. She rolled a 2. Okay. Alistair, it is your turn.
Alistair goes first.
Yes. In the darkness, you can see now, just gliding into view, but swimming very quickly, you can see this shape of this enormous shark.
Alrighty, let's see here. Okay, seeing as it's in range, I'm going to draw the harpoon gun crossbow I have, and I'm going to take...
Okay. Pulling one of the harpoon bolts out of your case now, and locking it into place now, you fire it, and it arcs through the water and thunk right into the side of the creature's head. And it just seems to, like, keep just trudging forward. It's coming straight towards all of you.
Alistair is full of adrenaline right now, and it's...
Scorched, it is your turn. You can see that between the bioluminescent columns you can see now off in the distance, immediately ahead of you, you see this large shark which is barreling down on you. You watched as within the darkness, from the very edges of the dim light, you can see now that this tiny bit of a twinkle of the harpoon as it glided through the water and stuck straight into the snout of the creature.
Scorch is going to pull out his crossbow as well, and he's going to, I don't know if he can talk underwater, but he's still going to at least try and warn the gnomes who are working on the submarine that there's a giant shark nearby.
So the way that the caps work is it creates a little air bubble around your head. So you can talk, but nothing can hear you, unfortunately.
Scorch doesn't have one of those. He doesn't need to breathe.
Oh, that's right. Well, basically the sound that comes out of you would just be just sort of like a blub, 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 blub.
Oh,
You could always
at least he
fire.
tried.
You could always fire a harpoon at one of the gnomes to warn them.
I guess that is an idea. Scorch is going to fire a harpoon, not at the gnome, but in the direction of the gnome. That will get their attention.
Okay, you can use your action to just fire your bolt towards the ship if you want.
I will do that.
Okay, you can go ahead and roll your attack. We'll see if you hit. Okay. Your crossbow bolt just sort of off in the distance and just sort of harmlessly doesn't go anywhere, unfortunately.
Alright. Well, Scorch will end his turn there.
Okay. Vrax, would you like to rage?
Yes, please.
All right, I have it turned on your rage.
And I'm going to swim 30 feet forward.
Okay. Suddenly, almost like an extreme acceleration like nothing you've ever seen before, Vrax flexes his tail and just through the water, straight forward, angled, like an underwater creature himself, with his weapon craned forward, targeting the creature.
Being as I'm not wearing any armor, I gain an additional 10 feet to that also.
Okay.
I'll move there.
You just see the size of this creature, which is much bigger than you thought at first. And it immediately, you can see it's pointed straight at you, like it's going to come straight at you.
And that pisses me off.
And the bubble, which is... you have underwater breathing, don't you?
No, I grabbed one of those headgear things you're talking about.
Okay. So you get the cap on. There's this bubble that just sort of... it doesn't keep a complete, like, cylindrical circle. It just sort of undulates and smushes in a little bit in places and then just sort of vibrates around your head, emanating from the cap.
Yeah, if anything happens to it, I can hold my breath up to 15 minutes, but I'm kind of like a crocodile. I do have to breathe it.
Gotcha.
And I will end my turn there.
Oh, okay. So you're not going to attack it?
No, I'm going to hold my turn.
I'm going to hold your action. All right.
Yes.
Twinkle, it is your turn. You just watched Vrax just sort of through the water. I should mention that if you attempt to swim through the water, it costs half your movement to move underwater. Unless you're Vrax.
I would like to hide.
Okay. As your bonus action, you want to hide. You can roll a stealth check. All right. Look pretty stealthy to me.
And I do not see the crew on the screen, but I would like to swim towards them.
Okay. Then that would be represented as moving towards the left side of the screen, away. Essentially, you could swim up towards that upper corner if you like, upper left-hand corner. They're much further away from where you guys are right now. Like, you guys are essentially in the extended dim light of those light spells. Those light spells are just barely illuminating from about 30, 40 feet away from where you guys are now.
Well, I'm not much help, and I figured my best help would be trying to swim over there to let them know that something is trying to eat us.
Okay.
And it's not me.
All right, very well.
So with that, I end my turn.
Okay. On the dire shark's turn. Now rushes forward towards you, Vrax. And with its mouth open, attempts to bite at you. And you just watch as this enormous mouth opens up, and its teeth are gnashing downwards as the jaw sort of like extends out from the gums, from the musculature of the large jaw, and attempts to bite into your flesh. And it just manages to chunk and misses you entirely. On Adelum's turn, Adelum is going to... Let's see. What does she want to do? What can she do? She's underwater. Damn. She can't really do much of anything. Oh, that's right. She has the air bubble around her head. Okay. She is going to cast Bane. On the shark. And the shark fails. Oh crap! I guess I need to get closer to do that. All right, so she'll get closer. I forgot she needs to be within 30 feet. All right, so the target has to roll a d4 and subtract that number rolled from the attack rolls or saving throws for a full minute. Fuck you, shark.
Yeah, fuck the shark. Wait, what?
Yeah, fuck the shark. Alright, so to prevent the rest of the friends on the combat tracker from having to re-roll their initiatives, we're going to go ahead and say that Alistair, it's your turn.
Alistair is going to feel confident and load another harpoon boat to shoot.
Okay. Yeah, another crossbow bolt as you load your harpoon into the water crossbow, aiming it, and watch as it shoot through the water and pegs into the creature now, and near its fin, closer to one of its dorsal fin. There's now a bit of blood now that's clouding the water and rising up and sort of not completely obfuscating your friend Vrax, but you can see now that this blood is seeping into the water. And make a perception check, Alistair.
Yes.
Okay. I will whisper something to you, Alistair, as Scorched. It is your turn.
Alright. Scorched is going to take aim at the shark now, and after loading And once he thinks that the shark is in his sights, he's going to let loose and fire.
Okay. Apparently you have disadvantage.
Yeah, it's out of my range.
Ah. So your bolt almost pegs Vrax in the back, but just manages to tink off of his shoulder as he is clearly pissed off.
I'll end my turn.
Okay. I was gonna say, if you're out of range, then how is Alistair hitting without disadvantage there? Alistair, are you checking your range, sir?
Yeah, it says 100.
That's its max range. If it's above 80, it's a disadvantage.
He's 30 away from me. I think it said differently. Hang on, let me. Range 100/400.
For a water crossbow?
Yes.
Oh, so it shouldn't be a disadvantage. You can roll that attack again if you want.
Oh, I think I did my light crossbow.
Oh, you're using your light crossbow.
No, I clicked on my light crossbow.
Oh, okay. Well, you still missed. And Varax, it is your turn. This shark is in your face. Its jaws are almost the size of your torso and gnashed shut in front of you. And it looks like it's getting ready to strike at you again. And possibly it looks like it's getting ready to swing its tail and swim past you.
I activate my longsword, my flame tongue longsword.
Okay, so you're currently... are you carrying one of the crossbows?
No, I've carried my longsword.
Oh, okay. So Varax, you pull out your flame tongue sword, and in the darkness now there is suddenly sort of like a whoosh, as the water around you is just bubbling from the flames, the magical flames that are constantly being quenched and then reigniting off of the blade, the edge of your blade.
All right, I'm gonna say something philosophical now, like,
The bubbles are popping in the interior of your little air bubble. And you can smell the sulfur coming off of it as you bring your arm down in an arcing fashion and slash into the side of the creature. And you can just see its flesh now burning and splitting open as you cut into the side of its body.
my flame effect didn't go off on that. What in the world? Why does it say 1d4 slashing? Jeremy, somebody played with my weapon.
Somebody played with your weapon?
Yes, they changed it.
No, it says D8 plus 9.
Yeah, but the magical part just says it does 1d4 slashing. I opened it up and it just shows a d4 slashing.
Let's see.
It's supposed to be 2d6 fire damage.
D8. Versatile. Yeah, what's up with that? Who's messing with,
I don't know, but I'm about to fix it. Okay, hold on.
I see what it is. For some reason... Yeah. There you go.
Okay, the weapon is now fixed. We need to subtract. We need to add 1 point of health back to the shark. And I'm gonna roll my fire damage, or just subtract it from my fire damage. He takes 8 fire damage.
Okay.
Nope, I'm sorry, 7 fire damage.
7
Now we're
fire
even.
damage. Okay.
Whew, people are toying with my weapons, Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. That might have just accidentally got added in there for some reason.
That's no telling. But we fixed it.
Okay. Is that in your turn?
No, I get a second attack.
Go for it.
And response to my initial phrase, I would like to also add, "Whoa!"
Okay, then. That is definitely a hit.
And I think he understands exactly what I'm trying to tell him now.
I think he
I'll
does
end my
too. Slicing along now, you nick one of its fins, and you can see now that there's just this blood, that the blood is now just flowing freely from this creature. And Twinkle, is your turn. You can see now, off in the distance, you can see that the gnomes are just working away. Like, they're pulling and tugging and looking back into the darkness. You can see the little air bubbles from their heads, which are sort of undulating with underneath the waves. Twinkle, make a perception check for me. Okay, good to know. Is that the end of your turn?
Yes.
All right. On the dire shark's turn, it is going to swim past you, Rax, so you can hit it with an opportunity attack if you wish. That's definitely a hit. And that's a heavy hit.
Okay, you can go on by now.
Just watch as this gout of blood just fills and just sprays from the side of its body as the shark comes straight at you, scorched. Its mouth opens up, blood streaming out, just this cloud that's forming behind it as it rushes towards you. And its teeth just sort of snap downwards as it attempts to bite into your torso. Its forward momentum as it attempts to slash into you. But it almost seems like there's a bit of a glow, sort of an eerie, strange orange glow that's emanating from its body. And it almost seemed as if you had a moment to like dodge out of the way as its jaws attempted to gnash down onto your body, and it just misses you. And off in the distance, you can see that this orange glow seems to be emanating as Adelum is making a sign with her hand in the darkness, holding her arms out in front of her towards the creature. And Adelum is going to now hold her action and will continue to concentrate on that spell. And Alistair, it is your turn again. You just watched as this massive shark just rushed past Vrax, got cut, sliced along the side, and then attempted to bite into your friend Scorched.
Well, my friends are being eaten.
I don't think anybody's been hit yet, but okay.
They're being eaten.
You're wrong. The shark has had an ass whooping delivered to him.
There, I'm gonna shoot it again. Loading another harpoon bolt. Arg, you salty dog. I end my turn. I think my point's been made.
All right. All right. For some reason, my cantrip just disappeared. No, there they are. All right. So instead of trying to shoot the crossbow, seeing how well that's going, Scorch is going to grab the shark, and he's instead going to do shocking grasp.
Go right ahead. As you reach out to touch the creature, unfortunately, your hand, it just sort of shifts a little bit to the right, and you just manage this electricity arcing off of your tips of your fingers, just harmlessly cascades across the side of its body.
All right, I will then end my turn.
Okay. And Vrax, it is your turn.
He can't escape from me that easily.
Okay. Vrax, you turn around, and with a powerful thrust of your tail, you shoot through the water towards the dorsal fin of the creature, to the rear fin of the creature, and swing down with your long sword and miss both times in quick succession. It just barely nicking the tip of its tail harmlessly.
Ah!
And then Vrax attempts to bite and just manages to bite into and rip out a section of its tail. And your little air bubble fills up with blood. And begins to seep out from the air bubble into the water as it drains out and dissipates.
Half of it drains out, but I'm drinking the rest.
Okay. Twinkle, it is your turn.
I swim closer to them.
Okay.
I
Twinkle is
have
now...
reached the end of the screen.
Okay. Twinkle, we'll say for all intents and purposes now you are back at the ship. And you are currently assisting. You are within the full bright light of the orbs, and now you can see now that little run of lights all around the surface of the sides of the ship now are one by one popping on and illuminating the area around the ship even more. And you can see now that bits of the net have been cut away, and the gnomes are continuing to cut.
I grab one of them to get their attention.
Okay, as you do, one of the gnomes kind of startles for a moment, and he just sort of looks and turns to you, and then he points beyond you and holds his hand over his mouth from within the air bubble.
And I point behind me, and I open my mouth real big, and I chomp down a couple times.
And he looks terrified.
Well, I don't know how to put it.
Oh, I understand. He sort of looks at you, looks behind you, and then just sort of turns around, goes back to the net, and is now sawing even faster, trying to cut into the rope.
No, he is coming with me. He's coming back with me.
He pushes you away, and he's continuing to cut the rope. And then we're going to go on to the shark's turn. The shark now is going to blaze past you, both Scorched and Vrax. You both get opportunity attacks as it appears to be going towards Alistair.
Alistair flips up a furry finger. Fuck you, shark!
That is a hit, Vrax.
Ha 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 ha!
Scorched, you may also make an opportunity attack as it goes away from you. And that's a hit. As you reach out, Scorched, to touch the side of the creature. Vrax, you just watch as this explosion of electricity, yellow lightning just sort of erupts all over the surface of the creature's body. And you can see blackened areas as now its dorsal fin has ripped off from an explosion of electricity under the water. And in one last ditch effort, the creature attempts once more to bite into one of you. Its massive jaws opening as it attempts to bite into Alistair. Alistair, you watch as these massive jaws, as one of its eyeballs has now exploded, and as its right eye explodes in the water, this sort of gross mist, its jaws close, crunching into your body. And you take 35 piercing damage. And you, my friend, are floating in the water. You all watch as the creature crunches down onto his body and holds onto him and is now swimming away with his body.
I like my after health and 19 AC.
This finger looking good.
Alistair. Poor Alistair.
I'm salty that I'm the first one that got hit for 1 over my AC and 1 over my HP.
Okay. On Adelum's turn, Adelum is going to freak the fuck out. And she is going to swim forward. And we will... Oh, why not? She's going to cast Healing Word on you. So there is a bit of a... Alistair, you were feeling the cold, and you can feeling the pain of this creature. What the heck? We'll cast it at 2nd level. And suddenly, you can still feel the piercing sensation, but you're no longer unconscious or drifting out of consciousness. And you can just feel the water rushing past as you are being propelled forward within the mouth of this creature. And it is your turn, my friend.
Alistair, at this point, pissed off, is going to let go of the parts of the gun.
Oh, you lost that. That when you passed out, that thing floated away.
Well, my handy dandy staff that's always on my person, right?
I don't know. Did you take your pack in the water with you?
I always have my shit on me because I never said
so-
I took it off.
So if you did, I'm going to remind you that all of your shit is now completely soaked
Salt water.
with salt water. So everything in your pack is completely soaked with water, salt water.
Oddly enough, I have very few things that would actually mess up. Actually,
Okay.
I'm
So
going
what would
to
you like to do? You are currently grappled by this thing.
I'm
in its
going
mouth.
to try- I'm going to try to whack it with my quarterstaff.
Okay. You may attack it with a disadvantage. Alistair, as you weakly pulling out, you're somehow managing to pull out your quarterstaff from your side, weakly smacking into the shark, and you just sort of smack it on the side of its head, sort of like a light tap.
I am going to use my bonus action to try to punch it in the nose.
Okay, go for it.
That's actually fairly effective.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I would have missed anyways, even if I rolled another one. Yeah, I'm just going
So you
chill here.
you attempt to punch it in its snoot, and when you go to punch it, you binge your wrist forward, and you hit. Oh, not a straight punch, but sort of like hit the top of your hand into its snoot, and it kind of hurts and stings a little bit.
I pooped it into Snoop, but it did nothing.
And that is your turn.
Alistair accepts this as his life and just lets the water blow past his limbs gently.
Attack using your beak. Give it the old pecker.
That's what she said.
Scorch, it is your turn. You're watching as the shark is now swimming away with your friend's body in its mouth.
Let's see, do I have anything that will work between 70 and 80 feet? I do not.
You're not 70 feet away. I don't know why it keeps saying 70 feet. You're not 70 feet away.
Alright, would that fit in between 30 feet?
Let's say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Yeah, I'd say that you're just within 30 feet.
Alright, then I will cast Witch Bolt on it.
Okay.
Another electric explosion erupts from Scorch's hands as he tries to finish the job, and he will cast it a second.
Okay. And Vrax, you just watch as this arcane energy arcs out through the water, spiraling, and just moves past and detonates off in the distance against one of the bioluminescent columns.
And that'll be my turn.
Okay. Vrax, it is your turn.
Thank you. I will move 40 feet in the shark's direction,
Okay.
and I will be throwing a javelin at it.
Okay. So, I assume you also brought your pack with you.
Oh yeah,
Or do you-
everything stays
or-
with me, and yes, all my stuff is soaking wet, but I do not care.
Okay.
Matter of fact, let's take a look real quick. Bedroll, blanket, nope, don't care if those get wet. I actually kind of like them better that way. Yeah, there's nothing in here.
Okay.
For your letter of credit.
Oh shit.
That tinderbox is going to be a few days before I can use it again.
Yeah.
And what else was it you said I needed to worry about?
That letter of credit?
Oh, oddly enough, there's not one in my backpack, so it must be in somebody else's pack.
Yeah, if it's not in your pack, then that's oh, I think that was in Adelum's pack. She didn't bring her pack with her.
Okay, fair enough.
You're safe. All right, and you are hawking a javelin at it. Okay, go right ahead.
Oh yeah.
I believe that would have been at disadvantage, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah, because you're throwing it underwater. The water is kind of like making your throw a little. It's trying to punch underwater. Like, yeah, there's resistance.
What, you mean javelins don't throw like harpoons underwater?
No, unfortunately, They're being propelled by your arm, but instead of being propelled by a device that's designed to fire them underwater.
Well, that's okay. I just rolled 2 hits back to back, so we'll just go ahead and keep the damage for the first one.
All right.
And I will roll my second attack at disadvantage.
Go for it. That is also a hit. It's in quick succession. Shoot! Shoot! And Alistair, you watch as you went to go and boop the shark in its snoot, and as you do, the tip of a javelin comes straight out the front of its head between its 2 beady eyes, and its mouth begins to open, its teeth now lifting away from you, and you are free of its mouth, and you are all out of combat.
Before we leave, I am swimming over to the shark as it drifts away into the depths, and I am cutting its jaw structure free.
Okay.
I'm gonna need that. Also, I didn't want to interrupt combat earlier, but I totally grabbed that dorsal fin.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alistair is going to head back to the ship, and once he gets in there, he's going to wait for everyone because he has some news to tell everyone.
Okay. As Alistair, as you're doing that, Adelum is swimming beside you, and she is attempting to guide you towards the ship because she knows that you're pretty wrecked right now.
And there is a cloud of blood as Vrax is just hacking away at this thing's face.
And I will give you guys some experience for that encounter. That was your first battle against a dire shark.
It was very dire. It
And we
came
got
after me
souvenirs.
because I was kicking its ass pretty well until I got.
Dude, that thing hits so hard. It's 3d10. And I totally forgot that it rolls with advantage when you have less hit points. I totally forgot. So you guys looked out.
So it basically hit me for a little under max.
Yeah. All right. Fucking sharks, man. So
Well, if we're just taking stuff off the shark, Scorch is going to harvest a huge chunk of meat off of it so we can cook it.
okay.
Come over here by me. I'll go ahead and slice you a chunk off.
I should mention that you were all talking to each other under the water, and it's like this.
He's a robot and I'm a crocodile. We can communicate underwater.
Okay. I figured you guys would be like do like hand signs.
No, we're straight talking to each other.
Oh, well, maybe you guys can lean each other's, or he can lean his air bubble into your face, Scorched, and he can talk to you like face to face.
We're so close we could kiss right now if we were into it, but we're not.
Okay. So after a while, the gnomes are able to cut the rest of the nets free, and you are all back aboard the ship.
I would like to add that if they're not done by the time I'm done with this shark, I'm coming through there with a flaming longsword and cutting all that shit for.
Hey, everyone. So, you know how they were talking about those little things under the sea? Well, I saw one of them.
What?
That scaly manfish.
The Sugan.
The Sawagam?
Zazu.
Are we all talking about the same thing?
Either way, I saw one down there.
Fishy lizard people, right? Kind of like me, but trashy looking.
Yes.
Well, that's not good.
I'm
Nope.
gonna eat one.
Go tell the captain now.
I go and I tell the captain that replaying the whole conversation, including the zoologic parts.
Okay.
I'm still lugging around the jaws of this giant shark.
Yeah, the other crew members are now like giving you a wide berth as you do. But the crew now are busily like they're continuing to rise to the surface.
How
And
big is the mouth on this thing exactly in comparison to like a great white?
it is about 3 times the size of a great white.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shut that jaw structure, tie it up, and strap it across my back because that's way too big to be carrying around my hand.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And
So, question: are potions ruined too?
Are they
anything
in bottles?
anything that's
Fourth bottles.
anything that's stoppered should be okay.
Okay, because I'm gonna use my potion of
Your potion of what?
healing.
Oh. What about my herbalism kit?
Basically, anything that's not watertight got soaked thoroughly.
I'm not exactly sure what's in a herbalism kit though. It could be made from rocks for all I know. So is it like destroyed or does it just need to be dried out?
You might just need to dry it out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but anything made of paper basically got ruined. Anything that you were carrying that was in your pack with you when you went into the water.
I have now seasoned 10-day supply of rations with sea salt. Y'all are welcome. Scorched.
And
Do you want to make soup out of this? And I pull out that
So-
massive dorsal fin and start passing it.
so the captain, he overheard you, Alistair, when you said that you saw what you think was one of the fish people. And he goes, "Well, making repairs will be a tad more interesting. Okay then." And he begins to rub the back of his neck and start cursing under his breath as he walks back towards the observation blister. And you can just hear his sound as his voice emanates from the speakers all around the interior of the capsule, and he yells out,
All right, look alive, men. Gonna need your eyes on a swivel. Passengers, if you would be so kind as to continue to offer support to the crew as we assess the damage, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Of course.
and the sea serpent rises to the surface and kind of comes to rest beside one of the craggy, sandy islands that are formed on top of the stone columns that jut from beneath the waves. And the crew begin assessing the damage. You can hear Biam saying, "Well, this is as good a place as any. Let's go ahead and start on the repairs." And I will say, for all intents and purposes, it's approximately 9 a.m. right now. We'll say 9:15 a.m. So the sun is up. And Biam comes to you. He looks at you and he says, "This is probably going to take about 2 hours. So it would be much appreciated if you could keep watch for us."
Rex,
I
would you like
get
to
on
keep
all
watch?
fours and shake like a dog to get all that water off of me.
Okay.
And then I go stare outside of a window.
Alistair will leave.
Alistair
Or we
will.
stand scorched.
All I heard was Alistair will blub 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 blub.
He fell in the water again.
Oh.
No, Alistair will be bleeding on the deck.
Okay. So, looking around the little stretch of island that's built up on this sandy, bit of a sandy outcropping on the top of this column that's growing on the top of this column. You can see now there's like scattered vegetation here and there. You can see that there's a few rock formations here and there, and appears to be just a pile of trash not too far away from like one edge of the water. and it's sort of piled up. You can see what looks like a couple of discarded barrels. You can see what looks like some waterlogged and gross-looking sacks that are piled up in sort of almost like a wall. But other than that, you don't see anything else. You can hear just in the distance the sounds of like seabirds.
Twinkle, have you ever eaten a seabird?
No.
Let me know what it tastes like.
Okay.
Bring back a few eggs also. Scorch may be able to do something with us.
Nice.
So, where's the closest water bird?
Well, right now you're all assembled on the surface of the ship.
Oh, we're hearing birds. There's land somewhere. Which direction does she need to swim? I'm throwing her.
Well, I would say that where you are currently, the island is directly in front of you. Let's see. Maybe the closest part of the island to the ship is approximately 50 feet away from you, 45 feet.
You ready to make that swim?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna grab Twinkle and launch her in that general direction. Not really high up in the air, but more just like across the surface of the water. I don't want her falling too far.
Okay. So am I correct to assume that you are all on the surface of the ship?
Yeah.
All right. In that case, I'll tell you what. Make an athletics check to see how far you throw Twinkle.
Okay. And I don't know if Scorched is up here or not. Scorched might be making dinner out of that giant dorsal fin.
Scorched, are you downstairs or are you upstairs with the crew and your friends?
Well, if the crew needs escort services, he'll be on the top of the ship. If not, then he'll be in down below making the.
How does that look?
Well, I would say that the crew would need all 5 of you if you're all assisting them.
Alright, then he'll be on deck.
Okay.
We don't need Twinkle on deck. She can go over there and scout around on the island. Maybe something over there we need to know about. Who knows? Maybe she'll eat a water bird and bring back some eggs.
What's your strength score, Brax?
16.
16? Okay, I'm going to say that you're able to toss her about almost 20 feet.
Okay.
And as she splooshes into the water, you see movement ahead, just behind those barrels. And tall, scaly humanoid creatures begin standing up as if they were sitting behind that wall and reacting to the sound of that.
On the island?
On the island.
Go alert the captain now. And I jump into the water and start swimming that way.
Okay. Well, as soon as you jump into the water, this Sahugan, this much taller one, now gestures to another one that now they all start to scatter now in front as you leap into the water. And I need everyone to roll initiative.
They better scatter. There's a real fucking lizard here.
Can I assume that you are a bit salty?
Yes, I am.
Is that why you rolled a 5 on your initiative?
I rolled a 1 plus 4.
And I will share a map with you guys. So, Vrax and well, realistically everyone, but specifically Twinkle and Vrax. As you, Vrax, you slipped into the water, and Twinkle, you were tossed into the water. Looking around, you now see movement as several finned, smaller, not as big as that dire shark that you encountered, but several smaller sharks now begin swimming towards you all. And let's see, whose turn is it? It is Twinkle's turn. Let me throw a map on your screen. Whoops, almost forgot. Aren't they just precious looking? What would you like to do, Twinkle? You got sharks.
I'm trying to read the map.
Oh, sorry. You got sharks swimming your way off in the distance. You can see them. Are you under the surface of the water, or are you doggy paddling, or are you doggy paddling on top?
I assume doggy paddling on top.
Okay, well, you can see multiple fins now that are, as these sharks are now making a beeline towards you. And you can see up on the shore, you can see several of these scaly creatures that have been described to you. Much larger one that is barking orders in this strange guttural language.
Give me a second. My computer is trying to think very hard.
No worries. If you'd like to hold your action, you may.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
If I saw that many sharks going after me, I wouldn't hold my action either.
I'm gonna swim back towards Rax and climb on top of his head and hop onto that ship.
Alright. Well, I would say that you would need to make a strength check to pull yourself back up onto the ship. Because it is a sloped area. Your friends are currently sort of standing on a little bit of a ledge. Well, I'll say you get advantage on that roll since you're right there, like, scrambling up your friend's head. Alright. So I'd say yes, you're able to get back up onto the ship. The surface of the ship is very slippery. So right now you're currently hanging on to the very edge of the little ledge that your friends are standing on with the tips of your fingers. So you're just kind of hanging right there.
And that will end my turn.
Okay. On the reef shark's turn, they are going to swim. We'll say he will swim his full speed. And the one... Ooh, actually, no. Sorry. The shark swims close to the elemental ring. And you all watch as it gets close to the elemental ring. It gets caught up into this tidal wave twister of energy, this elemental creature, and it just rips the shark up into chunks and sprays it out over the water. Now bits of gore now are raining down onto the surface of the water. And the other sharks are now rushing towards you, Vrax. The first one rushes towards you and will attempt to bite you. Because that's what a shark do. And much smaller than the one that you encountered in the water a little earlier, this shark attempts to bite into your leg as you are treading water. And its tiny little teeth just sort of gnash. It's not a fully grown shark. This one appears to be like a bit smaller than your average shark.
Like about the size of a shark.
Yeah, about the size of a blue. The other shark now is rushing towards you. Sensing the blood in the water, it just darts towards you.
Who's bleeding?
This is the chunks of blood from the shark that was exploded by the elemental ring.
Gotcha.
And this little guy attempts to bite into your forearm as you are attempting to tread the water and also reach for a weapon in response to seeing these creatures. And I'm going to say that you're no longer... You wouldn't be raging at this point yet. But it's your turn. Would you like to rage?
Brock's mad! Ah!
Okay, I'll reactivate your rage for you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So you have these two smaller sharks now that are nipping at you.
Alright, I'm pulling out my long sword, flame tongue sword. Am I able to activate?
I don't know, are you?
Well, I mean, I did my barbarian rage. I don't know if I can do the barbarian rage and activate the sword.
That is true. You wouldn't be able to activate it this round because you use your bonus action.
That's what I thought. Okay, I will attack without activating it this time.
Okay. And that's definitely a hit as you arc down on the creature. Let me just say, you're still underwater, so technically that would be a disadvantage. You're trying to...
Physical attacks.
Yeah, I would say that with a physical attack, like with your sword, you're trying to tread water and at the same time attempting to slice down into this creature. You still hit it.
All right.
Okay.
Double 11. Nice.
Slashing into the creature.
And I will activate my bite attack.
Go for it.
Disadvantage? Or do I take disadvantage from the bite attack since I'm a water creature?
I would say that the bite would not be at disadvantage.
Just a bit salty.
Get a little bit of water in your mouth as you bite into the creature.
I have now a saltwater crocodile.
Blood and saltwater now streaming out and striking you in the face as you bite into the side of the neck of this creature, as it is sort of frenzying these creatures now in the water.
Alright, it's Scorch's turn.
And Scorch, what would you like to do?
Alright. Seeing the blood in the water, Scorch is just gonna assume that it's the sharks, and he's gonna take his attention to these strange men that are on the shore of the island. And in both his hands, he's gonna have two small balls of flame. He's gonna hurl them at the two Swahagan.
Go for it.
And soon I'm using my twin spell.
Okay. So in quick succession, you manifest these balls of fire into your arms and then arc them out. And you watch as they both splash into these creatures, and you just watch as they go "Rah!" as the fire immediately erupts and burns them in places on their bodies. And they are now
end my turn.
they are now staring straight at you, the two that you just hit, and they're hefting their weapons. Excuse me. And the one furthest down from the shore now steps into the water and then rushes forward in quick succession right up to you, Vrax. And readying its spear in its hands. The other one now, the much larger one, is currently holds up its staff over its head and begins to chant in some sort of strange language. The other reef sharks are now rushing forward as fast as they can to meet to get in and sort of a dogpile onto Varax.
Whew, that's a mistake.
And the Sahaugen steps into the water and swims forth and just pulls itself up, rises up above the water, and now throws a spear straight at you, Scorched. And you just watch as this thing sort of just dove into the water and then shoo, like a rocket through the water, and then tosses a spear your way. And you watch as the spear and sticks you right in your chest, almost center mass, and hits you for a critical hit. And you now have this spear sticking straight out of your chest as you reach up with one of your hands to grasp it. And Alistair, it is your turn.
Alistair had to leave.
Alistair had to leave?
Yes, he had chores or something he had to do. He posted it in Discord chat.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
he apologized.
No worries.
Alright, let's hear your best edgy emo voice.
Well, I take out my shillelagh.
Actually, no. It's, he's going to cast Healing Word on Scorched. As his bonus action. And Scorched, he heals you up a little bit as you're beginning to pull the spear out of your chest. And then he is going to... Oh gosh. He doesn't really have any ranged attacks, does he? He's... he's just gonna... Oh, he needs them right now. He's going to ready his weapon. He can't do anything else unless he wants to jump in the water and get eaten by sharks. So he's going to ready we'll say he's readying his staff for now. I hold my staff. He can't hold his action, but he can ready his staff. Shimmy him a little bit. The reef sharks are... We're going to say he swam underneath. He's trying to bite you in the ass. Rax.
basically, he's occupying my tile underneath me directly.
Yeah, he's like directly beneath you, trying to bite you in the ass right now. And let's see.
On the tail.
Oh, and your tail. Oh, snap. He has advantage on his attack, so he's going to attempt to bite you. You just feel this motion as your tail whips out of the way as this shark attempts to bite your tail.
I need a new feat introduced to the game, Jeremy.
What's that? I whip my tail back and forth?
Tail whip.
Tail whip.
I want the move tail whip so I can attack for 1d8 damage with my tail.
Alright, well,
I think this is a perfectly reasonable request.
The other Shargon now is going to... Gosh, it would be terrible if I killed you guys while you weren't here. Oh, what the hey. He's going to go after you, Rax, because he wants to.
Okay. Rax can take it.
Alrighty. The top of the order. Once again, Twinkle, it is your turn. You are currently hanging off the edge with the tippy tips of your fingers, and you're watching as these scaly fishmen are attempting to attack your friends and possibly you, and these sharks are trying to eat Varax.
I climb back on board.
Okay. Very easily lift yourself up onto the ledge now, staring down at these fish creatures.
Can I shoot the sharks with my crossbow?
Absolutely. Well, you don't have. Are you talking about a water crossbow or your regular crossbow?
I just have a crossbow.
Oh, okay. So pulling out your crossbow and sticking a bolt in there and aiming down at the creature. I would say that if the creature is next to an ally, that gives you advantage. Because you're a rogue.
Fantastic.
That is a critical hit as you fire a bolt into the head of the reef shark. And you just watch as it goes shunk into the top of its head, and then the creature starts to float just harmlessly in the water. The other sharks are now continuing their frenzy, attempting to bite into Varax's body. Varax, you just see all these little mouths now that are just sort of num 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 num, trying to bite into you. But you're shrugging them off as you're moving around in the water and treading the water. And it is your turn.
I am much better in the water than these foul creatures. I will activate my flame tongue longsword now.
Okay.
And I'm still attacking with disadvantage.
I would say yes, because you're still treading water. You're still trying to hack into these creatures while you're sort of half in, half out of the water. You still hit. So you slice into the creature's body. It's your magical blade is being quenched by the salt water and then reigniting and just bubbling.
Alright, I'll end my turn.
Okay. Scorch, it is your turn. You're now pulling this spear out of your body. You've pulled it free now and toss it aside, I assume.
Yes, that's the first thing that I do. The second thing I do is I'm going to take 2 steps over. I'm going to get a good line on the Shargon and the sharks. And I'm going to cast Agazar's Scorcher.
Okay.
So I can get all 4 of those.
Okay. Yep, I would say that you get 3 of them. Technically, the one that's on the farthest corner. How wide is the attack?
It is a 5-foot line.
Okay, so you'll hit them. Does it? Can you ignore your friends, or does it hit everything within the line?
It hits everything.
Okay, so you'll be rolling a save for him as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Alright, so which ones am I hitting?
You're hitting all but that one Sahaugen number 3. Hooligans. I think I'm going to call this episode Hooligans. Okay.
You only cast 2 of us.
Yeah, you'll have to do it again for the others.
Alright, well, I'll get them out of the way then.
Okay. Well, those 2 succeeded. Brax succeeded, and the other Reef Shark succeeded. So you just watch as Vrax, you just kind of get, just sort of this ripple effect as this burning heat blasts into your body, but it fries the shark, and there's this awful stench of burnt, just mess, burnt fish. This fishy burning smell.
Did I resist that?
You did resist.
I see where I resisted it from the full damage, but I don't see where my regular resistance factored in.
Well, I don't think you can resist magic.
I have resist all. Is magic part of all?
I don't think so. I think it's referring to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, if you take the path of the Berserker, you don't get resistance to any of that elemental stuff.
Well, he's a totem bear.
Yeah, I'm also resistant to psychic, which is really nice.
Yeah, it is.
Advantage on all strength checks, and I get advantage on all dexterity effects.
Alright, and that'll be my turn.
Okay. Oh, you didn't put damage on the others?
I
you
did.
He did.
Okay, good.
Knocked the shit out of him.
Yeah, he killed the shit out of that Sahaugen.
Yeah, he did.
So the one that was swimming up, getting ready to poke you with his stick, he just sort of gets blasted. His whole arm gets just launched off of his body, is floating away in the water. And the other Sahaugen now, he is going to attempt to attack you first with his spear. And from the sound of like the burning magical attack from your friend from up top is drowns out this spear as he tips to poke you with it, sticks into the side of the ship, and then you just hear him sort of this horrible garbled sound, and then he attempts to bite into your neck with his teeth, and you just hear the audible snap as the teeth come together.
Pitiful creature. His teeth aren't even sharp enough to break my scales.
The keeper continues to hold up its spear on the shore, and there is now, for those of you standing on the edge of the ship, there is now a crystalline energy that seems to shimmer off of its staff as it holds it up overhead. And you can now hear the sounds of thunder off in the distance as the clouds now seem to be getting closer to all of you. And it continues to hold its action, or whatever it's doing. The other Sahaugen now, it swims up to the edge of the ship, and then pulls itself up onto the edge, and then stalks forward. No spear in its hand, comes to finish the job on you, Swords. First, it attempts to bite at you as it reaches out, clawing and biting at you in quick succession. And you watch as its massive teeth clamp shut inches away from you, and then it attempts to rake its claws against your stony visage as it scratches its claws across your body and manages to strike you with its claws. And there's a sound of like as its claws dig into your body and create a gouge mark into your stony exterior. On Alistair's turn, he is going to move up next to the creature, and he's going to attempt to smack it with his stick. Yeah, I just realized that I completely skipped Adelum last time. Whoopsie.
Time to hit him with that long stick.
Time to hit him with that long quarterstaff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and he hits him too. Hits him real good.
He calls that quarterstaff the truth, because bitches can't handle the truth.
The other sharks now that are continuing to try and bite your toes, Rax. They're not really doing a whole heck of a lot, but they're trying their darndest.
This point here is just cute.
Yeah. Alright, I'm going to say that Delum's turn. We'll make her dead last in the initiative. Why not? She is going to... Gosh, what can she do? She can do a lot. She is going to cast...
Magic missile.
Exactly, that's exactly what she is doing. She's going to cast Magic Missile at the Keeper on the shore.
Damn.
Because, yeah, that shit's 120 feet range.
Dude, tell her to cast it at level 5.
What's that? 3 darts. I don't know if she has a 5th level spell slot. She only has 3rd level.
Probably not.
Yeah, what the heck? She'll cast it at 2nd level and send 6 darts his way. So you just watch as this brilliant energy arcs out, 6 bolts blasting into this creature that's been holding up its trident this whole time. And just in quick succession, just into its body, and is rocked back. And its trident sort of like its arm bends down a bit, and now it's looking in the direction of Adelum with just pure murder in its eyes. And Twinkle, it's your turn again.
I'd like to hide.
You like to hide?
Yes.
Okay. You could roll a stealth check. There you go. Is that all you're doing on your turn?
No, I'm trying to move towards the Stogan.
Okay, well he's in the water. Unless you'd like to go fight the one
No,
that's...
no. The other one. The
Oh,
one
okay.
that's on the boat.
Gotcha. Yeah, you can move your token over there if you like. And there you go. And unfortunately, he sees you. So as you are rushing up, getting ready to stab at him, so unfortunately, you will not be able to use your. You won't be able to get your stealth bonus for your attack damage. Oh crap! I rolled the wrong one. That's okay. They're both the same one, same people. Same creatures. Would you like to attack him?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. Oh, you're attacking while out of ammo.
Wrong one. Whoops.
You still hit him.
Let's try this again.
You can just roll you can just drop the damage on him since you hit. Unless you'd like to roll again and see if you can crit.
I'll just take it off his dying body and
Yeah,
take a good chunk out of his leg.
So Twinkle just sort of runs up his body like Yoda in Revenge of the Sith and stabs him in the chest with her dagger, and he falls backwards, slides, and she rides his body down to the ground as he slides off the edge into the water.
He just got prison shanked.
And I bit his leg so I could see what it tastes like.
It tasted kind of fishy. A little bit like it would have tasted maybe a little good with some salt and pepper.
Nice.
The other sharks are continuing to sort of trying to bite into Rax, but not really doing a whole heck of a lot. Rax, it is your turn again.
My scales are strong. I keep telling you, everybody's skin is weak.
Rax, with his mighty axe, sometimes a flaming sword.
Yeah,
That's a
say,
hit.
I don't even have an axe.
Yeah, it's true. You have javelins, not axes.
I can get axes.
It's true. So you hack down and cut the end of the reef shark's nose right off of its body. Slice down in quick succession into the body of the other reef shark. And this time you split it in half. Up to its dorsal fin.
It's the death. Hell yeah. And I will end my turn.
Alright. Scorched, it is your turn.
Alright, Scorch is going to move back over to his right.
Okay.
He's trying to see if he can get a better look on that giant Swahagan over there. It's hiding behind the barrels.
The Hooligan is you can just see
It's
his
a hooligan.
You can just see him from his he's much taller than the others, so you can see him from his navel up, and he's currently holding his trident up again, getting ready to lift it back up into the air. And in the distance you can still hear the thunder rumbling.
Scorch is going to throw another firebolt at him.
Okay, go for it. Ooh, what just happened? Unfortunately, that is a miss.
I saw that lag. I call hacks.
the Shargon now. Now, with it is sort of like a... And in quick succession, first attempts to slash you. This time with advantage, is frenzied, attempting to slash at you, Vrax, with its claws. And you just feel these claws raking harmlessly down your side. It then attempts to reach out and bite you yet again, this time into your neck, trying to take a chunk out of the side of your neck, and missing.
I told you, they're trash. They're not even strong enough to penetrate my scales.
On the Sharkkeeper's turn, there is a sudden thunderclap, and lightning strikes the trident. And you can just hear its chortling laughter from the shoreline. And from above you, there is now... the clouds have been moving in, and the early morning sunlight is now filtered through these dark clouds, and the wind is starting to pick up, and the waves are starting to pick up. And you can just hear from behind you, Vrax, up on the ship somewhere, one of the gnomes is yelling out,
Oh, Jet! What is that?
and there's this wind that is now beginning to pick up, and the sound of thunder clapping around you. And as you all look off into the distance, off to the southwest, you can now see there is a massive column of water that seems to resemble a tornado, which is coming straight at the sea serpent and at all of you. And that's where we're going to end for tonight. I would like to direct you all to the combat tracker in honor of our our good friend from the other group. One of the crew of the Sea Serpent is in there right now. He'll
die first.
You might recognize. Because he'll die first.
Yep.
Oh, good lord.
He might catch it right off the bat.